There is a sentiment that I have heard again and again and again from people who are in long term relationships or who have been married for a long time. And maybe you've said something like this yourself: the thrill is gone, or there's just no spark, or I love my partner, but I just don't, feel the same way about them as I used to, or they don't feel the same way about me as they used to. When sex stops happening, or when it just doesn't feel very good anymore, we always want to blame a lack of attraction. Well, not always, a lot of the time. We assume that time and, familiarity, all that domestic life stuff erodes on physical attraction or that pull toward each other. We treat it like it's a finite resource that we just run out of, and then the relationship just starts to feel more like companionship or a living arrangement, right? But there's a brilliant reframe that I'd like to share with you that I heard from my favorite relationship therapist, Esther Perel, and it turns that assumption on its head. She says, and this is me paraphrasing, that in long term relationships where it appears that desire has waned, a lot of the time, what is actually gone missing is presence. Hey, lovers. This is Sex in Real Life, honest conversations about sex and relationships beyond 40. I'm your host, Stacey Herrera. That's a very different way of looking at this, I thought, and I think that you will too. Because maybe the problem isn't that you're no longer attracted to your person. Maybe it's just that you are physically together, but mentally and emotionally miles apart. And if you want to understand what good sex is, if you want to experience good sex, we have to recognize that desire cannot exist when your bodies are in the room, but your mind and your heart isn't. I mean, think about the last time that you had sex where it felt mechanical. You're going through the motions, but where was your mind? Were you replaying some interaction that you had at the grocery store? Were you running through the laundry list of things you need to get done tomorrow? Were you trying to remember if you locked the front door? Or if you like me, did I close the garage? Like, but that's the opposite of presence, so you're touching, but you're not there to receive the touch. And yes, your skin is involved, but your attention is somewhere, I don't know, on another planet. Good sex requires presence, period. And that's true on both sides. That means that you have to check your internal narrator at the door and give your absolute undivided attention to each other, the physical sensations that you're having. And that means that you need to be focused on, the texture of their skin, the weight of their body, the sound of breath. Because when you pull your mind back into the room, you might realize, maybe not, but probably, you'll realize that the desire didn't really vanish. It was just buried under mental clutter or distractions. So we have to be honest about why we check out in the first place, right? Mental distractions are usually, well, not usually. Mental distraction is sometimes, but not always, a defense mechanism. hmm Because being present can feel exposing. Like, have you ever been talking to somebody and you share something and all of a sudden it feels like your skin is inside out? Presence is like that. When you give your partner your undivided attention during sex, you are stripping away all of your armor. I mean, you're already physically naked, right? With no pockets. Like you're already physically naked with no pockets. But when you're fully there, you are letting yourself be seen in your pleasure, in your vulnerability, in your aging body. And that level of exposure, shit, can be terrifying, especially with somebody that knows you really well. But if you're thinking about your to-do list or running through your schedule, that's a great way to not feel exposed. I mean, it's like a buffer. It's a way to keep one foot in the room, but then the other foot isn't there. So you don't have to risk the emotional intensity that comes with being completely locked in the moment. Checking out. Checking out allows you to have sex without risking connection. I mean, if you're checked out, you're not connecting with them. You're just going through the motions. And you can always tell when presence is missing because I'm talking specifically to sex. Like you can tell when the presence is missing because the quality of the touch changes. You know what autopilot touch feels like. Not great, but it's like, there's a hand on your hip or there is a touch on your back that should be a caress, but it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like static. And you can feel it viscerally when your partner's brain is somewhere else. And they can feel it when yours is too. Performing physical movement is, I mean, yeah, it's a two-step, right? But there's no electricity behind it. There's no energy behind it. And it starts to feel transactional and empty. Now, contrast that with present touch. I mean, when you're in it, it feels alive, it's responsive. And when your partner is really there and their hand moves over your body in real time, like, and they noticed the slight shift in your breathing because it just gave you goose pimples. Oh, that right there is everything. Active attention is what triggers the awareness of physical pleasure. That's the difference between just having someone touch you and having a touch that turns you on, right? Because sensation isn't just well, maybe that's not true. The way that your body interprets sensation isn't about just what happens in the nerve endings. I mean, your brain is sending a signal and it's sending a signal to you that something is happening. But when there is physical presence, it touches the heart. I mean, that's not scientific, so don't go Googling it. That's just me talking. But I stand 10 toes down on that. But to allow sensation to register, we have to talk about one more thing, and that is speed. When it comes to routine sex, we have a tendency to rush. I mean, we move quickly through all the, familiar steps just to get to the other side. But moving too fast is like, how do I want to put this? When you move too fast, it's like emotional anesthesia. It's like emotional anesthesia because it allows you to skate over the surface without actually feeling anything. Think about it like driving a car. When you are driving at high speed down a highway, and I hope that you don't do this, right? But if you ever have, you know that it is impossible to really see what's going on around you. Like you're passing buildings, you don't know what they look like, and you definitely cannot track what the other cars are doing or when cars are coming from different directions. You're moving too fast to really register what's going on in the environment. And that's exactly what happens in bed. When we move too fast, we can't be present. We move at a pace that ensures that we don't have to really look at each other in the eye. We don't have to be vulnerable. We don't have to feel. But if you go slow, or at least slower, and I'm not talking about, you don't have to like slow things to a crawl, but when you go slow and you move at a pace where you can actually feel the emotion beneath the sensation, it's everything. I mean, there is a difference between skin hitting skin and skin and touch that feels pleasurable. And when you slow down the rhythm, you force your brain to be present with what's going on in a way that is more visceral. And that's where good sex happens. Now, just a caveat, I am not at all saying that frenetic sex can't be pleasurable. It can. But even in that, you are slowing your mind down. Even if your body is moving, at breakneck speed, which, if that's your thing. But even when your body is moving like that and moving fast, if you are slowing down your mind, you can still feel everything. So I'm not saying that if faster sex is your jam, that you should switch things up. Maybe sometimes, but I'm just saying that you need to be slowing your mind down enough to be in the room, in the moment, in the sensation that's happening. That's what I'm saying. So, what do we do when our mind wanders? I mean, because it inevitably will wander. Even if you are deeply committed to being in the present, your brain is a tracking machine. And in the middle of an intimate moment, a thought about an unread email or something you forgot to do is going to slide in your head. It just happens. So when that happens, though, we usually do one of two things. We either follow the distraction and let the sex become mechanical, or we panic. We might start lecturing ourselves inside of our head. Why can't I just focus? What's wrong with me? Why am I not enjoying this? But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, because you're going to get distracted, like I said. So being distracted and judging yourself is no bueno. What you can do, though, instead, and this works for me, so I think it might work for you too, is you can practice presence by putting your focus where you're feeling the most sensation. So, you might focus on the warmth of your partner's skin against your palm, or you might listen to the cadence of their breath. You might pay attention to the feeling of your own heartbeat, so you can use your senses to anchor you into the moment whenever you notice that your mind has drifted, just like meditation works in meditation. So, I mean, one could argue that sex can be a meditative experience. I think it can. I have experienced that. But by simply just putting your attention on, at first just one thing that's happening, it anchors you in the room. Also, if your attention is on the spot that is getting the most sensation, you are also going to heighten your own pleasure. It's quite miraculous, actually. So I digress. Redefining good sex through the lens of presence really does change the conversation because it takes blame out of the bedroom. I mean, it means that you don't have to fixate on whether you are perfectly compatible or whether the air quotes chemistry is still there. I mean, chemistry can be magical. I mean, it is magical. But one could argue, and I am arguing, that at least for the sake of this discussion, that chemistry is a byproduct of two or more people giving their undivided attention to each other. So when you stop treating desire like it's this mysterious thing, this mysterious finite resource, and you start looking at it as a matter of focus, you get your power back. You might realize that your presence is the antidote for that dry spell, right? You don't need a new technique or a vacation or a checklist all the time. I'm not saying those things can't be helpful, but what if all you do is come back into the room? I mean, it's so simple that it seems like a hack. Well, I guess kind of is a hack. A good hack, though. Like, not all hacks are bad. Not all hacks are bad. So tonight, if you find yourself reaching for your partner or if they reach for you, pay attention to the speed. Notice the urge to rush through the experience and consciously choose to slow down. Pull your mind back from everything that happened earlier in the day and resist the urge to start going over what you need to do tomorrow. Just be in the present. You know, register the warmth of their hand or, you know, the heat of their gaze. Because maybe, just maybe, the spark didn't go anywhere. But you do have to be in the room to see it burn. See what I did there? So if this episode planted a new seed about how you look at desire, or if you realize that you be running mental errands during sex, because sometimes we do, but if you have that awareness, share this episode, share it with your partner. It might be a way to bring both of you in the room. And if you feel so inclined, take a second to leave a rating or a review before you go. It really does help these unshielded conversations find the right people. Next week, we are going to continue our conversation around good sex, and we are going to take this idea of presence a step further, because we're going to talk about the conditions that are required for us to genuinely let go. It's going to be a good one. I hope to see you here. Ciao.